So you wanna be a picture book writer, then you gotta write picture books. And you're gonna need a bucket load of bright ideas for titles, plots, and hooks. If you're partial to prose or you're raring to rhyme, then repeat after me, it's a challenge, but I'm gonna tackle each story 1 month at a time with 12 by 12.
James, tell us the state of the picture book market right now for people who are trying to break in, and also even for those of us who are published. It's not easy and for anybody really right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting place to be. And I wish that there was some logical recipe for what works in the market right now. But the truth is that really a little bit of everything that you might find in a picture book is working. It just matters how fresh it is. So for me, I always break things down into the 4 buckets of a picture book. And I'm sure there are more, and I'm sure somebody will be yelling at me in the chat. But for me, it's nonfiction, like all of those exciting projects that are true and they're tackling STEAM or history or social justice topics. Social emotional learning, which can be in both fiction and nonfiction. Again, this is just how I break them down in my head. Then there's the lyrical picture books and the humorous picture books. So for me, all of those 4 buckets of picture books are still selling. All of them are finding success. I found success in all of them in the past year. It just is a matter of making something in that space feel fresh and feel exciting and feel new. Picture books have been around forever, and I'm sure that if you have an idea, some aspect of it has been done already, which is super hard to digest sometimes, but it's just a matter of what can you do differently to make it feel different and exciting.
Yeah, I'm curious, just for people who, could you just break that down a little bit more? I think we all understand nonfiction, but
Right.
talk about what you mean. Humorous is fairly understandable, but when you're talking about social emotional or SEL, a hot button term right now, and what you define as lyrical, I think that would be helpful for folks.
Yeah, sure. So social emotional picture books are the ones that are dealing with teaching kids how to feel their feelings, process their thoughts, be adult mature about their feelings and process them the way that we hope that kids can do so freely. There are a number of books that are on the market now, both in fiction and nonfiction, that can do that. There are stories that might help a kid process grief or the loss of a pet or moving, something like that. That's where I think that they've become this market of their own. Actually, just today, Penguin Random House announced a new imprint for books of that nature. I think it's, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Rocky Road or Rocky something like that. I will find the name of it and I can send it to you. But Lori Hornick is heading it up. And yeah, I think that those are books that have just exploded onto the marketplace, especially considering where we are as a global people. We're also dealing with mental health in some way. And then in terms of lyrical, I picture those as fictional books that are not overtly humorous, right? Stories that are a bit more heartfelt, that are exploring. And I think there is some overlap with social emotional learning in terms of lyrical, but the books that have beautiful writing, the books that, I don't know, give me some examples. Should give you some examples. Like I Talk Like a River is something that I would consider a bit more lyrical fiction. Yeah. And obviously it's not a humorous book. Rocky Pond, thank you. I think that was it. Yeah, so that's how I just break them down and approach picture book submissions on my end, and how I would approach finding editors, and when I'm talking to editors, how I break them down as well. But I hope that was a better explanation.
Yes, thank you. I think that's helpful. People were asking for examples, and it's kind of funny because I have described Overbear Underwear as a social emotional book, social emotional learning, because it's about, it has themes of inclusion, and you've read it. So would you put it as an agent? Would you put it there or not? Probably.
It's funny. And again, I don't think that any of these categories are exclusive, because I would also put it in humor. And you might even say that there's a category of picture books that are just a bit more educational in general, which Overbear and Underwear does with the way it teaches compound words and just that whole construction of language. I would put it in all 3 of those, because there was definite humor both in the illustrations, but I think it could work in because I know that there were themes of people, sort of animals, characters meeting and having some sort of tension within them. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not there. I just want people to understand that you don't have to think of them as there are walls between them. For the most part, Overbear Underwear is a funny book. That's where I would put it, but it has aspects of SEL. And likewise, nonfiction can have components of SEL, or nonfiction can be lyrical.
And I should say that's probably what's helping submissions rise to the top, books that can do a little bit of all of these different categories of picture book. So the way I think of Oppie is in Good Night Oppie, my picture book, is in its sense, it is also social emotional. Unfortunately, Oppie does become inoperational at the end of the book. There's a ton of really
so sad. I was
it
like,
was sad.
gosh, like the windstorm. I was not prepared. I was not prepared to feel sad at the end. But
I know a lot of people have been upset with me, but hey, I had to honor sort of the story. But there is social emotional learning in that book, I think, for kids to process that at the end. There's a ton of really great nonfiction. And I also think there's a bit of humor in there, or at least humor that I found funny. So I think the books that are rising to the top are the books that can take a little bit of all of that and meld it into a really beautiful story that resonates with kids across experience and geography, or wherever they might be and how their living situation is.
Do it together so never you fear. It's a handy little way to help you kick into gear. You're amazing, exciting. Look out, 'cause you're writing 12 by 12. 12 manuscripts. 12 by 12. 12 picture books. 12